Hey y'all, I'm sitting here sorting potatoes, and I wanted to share some of my strategy with you. Yours might vary, but right now times are pretty good for us here on the homestead, so we're not hurting or anything. So I did a few things that I might not do in harder times. See how that one got skinned by my bucket? I'm going to put that in the immediate use. So I probably let some things go just because it's easier. That's a good one. So I'll probably be a little more wasteful now than I normally would be. So first, the varieties I have, Yukon Gold, red Pontiac. See the little, take your little sprouts off. And Kennebec. So I have a white, a yellow, and a white with the red skin. And I didn't really do a great job. I did mark my rows, but then it just ended up being whatever. So I did notice these red Pontiacs have these little divots, make it look like it's damaged, but it's not. That's immediate use right there. It's not rotten, soft, but it is definitely damaged. So part of my strategy is to just let them all get mixed in, and just we'll see what comes up in what spot. I'm not going to I'm just going to try all three blended together and see whatever keeps, it'll just kind of work itself out. The best ones will just make more little seeds and then we'll use them. So part of my strategy is to have seed potatoes in the future. That will always be part of the strategy. So I pick one up, and if it looks like it might not be worth peeling later, then do a seed potato. I mean, that's kind of borderline right there. And all of my seed potatoes need to be intact, obviously, so no blemishes or anything. You want really good ones that are going to store. And I have kind of already sorted this bucket a little bit. That's damaged. Nice big one though, so we'll use that right away. I am leaving the dirt on them. I just brush a little of the dirt off. So probably in harder times, you wouldn't let as much go to the chickens. So for me now, even though that'll probably heal, I'm going to go ahead and put that in immediate use. But right now, I'm giving a lot to the chickens. So, and these are real thin skin, so if it looks like damage, but it's just a little soft skin, just go ahead and it'll probably skin over, harden off. So yeah, most of these are keepers because I already had kind of sorted through. And in hard times, you would probably just not feed anything to the chickens. You might just cut the rotten ones off really close, and even if you had the small ones and so forth that are damaged, like, okay, here's a soft one, so that's going to the chickens, period. In harder times, you'd probably try to get every bit of potato off of that. Right now, I don't want to mess with it. See that insect hole? That will be immediate use. Might be fine, might not be. So that's a big crack. That's immediate use. So, and then also you'll be struggling in harder times. You'll be like, well, we're hungry now. Let's eat our seed potatoes. But right now it's just like, if it doesn't even look like it's worth peeling, I mean, maybe. It goes to the sweet potato if it's like, especially if it's small and like unusually shaped or something. And it goes right to the seed potatoes. And probably seed potatoes might be a little bigger now than they would be in hard times. So a couple things that I have noticed. a bucket of potatoes is about 28 pounds, a 5-gallon bucket. Over, you know, as much as you can get in there with it almost spilling out, that might be 30, and a couple inches below might be like 26. The seed potatoes are almost the same. I mean, I know they're smaller, and you probably get more of them in there, but it works out about the same for seed potatoes as it would for regular storage. So most of these have ended up being storage potatoes. The sorting earlier was a little different. So here, let me just show you some of my seed potatoes. It's kind of like this size. Just all of that. I mean, it's definitely bigger than a golf ball. But there are whole buckets of those. So I'm going to treat my seed potatoes just like my storage potatoes, but I'm going to have them in a different spot. And that way, I got it with a bucket there. So I would have never harvested with a bucket, but it just saves so much labor. And yeah, you lose more potatoes, but like I said, it's not that important right now. That's immediate use right there. So, I guess that's all I had to say. Well, you know, survival crop as far as just putting calories up for the least amount of work, least amount of you can do a lot of work with potatoes, but you can also not. So you get a lot of calories for your input, and it will tolerate marginal soil. It will tolerate some periods of drought, and it's just going to diminish yield, but it might not kill your plant. And as far as storage, potatoes are pretty easy to get to storage mode. So like this is one of the last small ones. I'm going to make that a seed potato. Just not worth peeling. So I would say you probably want to learn how to grow potatoes. Just one of the top crops to just keep calories. You can grow other things, but are they really going to feed you and give you the calories you need to do what you need to do? All those little splits. So definitely everyone should know how to grow potatoes if they're in the area. And I think most areas can do it. These potatoes, I just put them in one time. I just planted them and that was it. We made the furrows. We were making compost. So I grew my potatoes in the compost bed. And the main thing was to make compost, but the side product, the bonus product, would be the potatoes themselves. And, I'd say we got 300 pounds out of that bed out there. And it was that's the top of the ridge. Top of the ridge, which is the worst place to grow. This doesn't get extra water flowing down over it, and it's just the poor soils. It's going to be the hottest, driest place because the hot winds will dry it out. So we did okay. I just noticed it might not have been the kind of yield you might want. You know. So here's the junk. Just like it was too damaged, too small to be worth peeling and stuff like that. By the time you got done with it, then you had some rotten ones. If it had a rotten spot in it, just forget it, it's going. And you really got to watch your potatoes because, man, these things stink and you get maggots in there. So you really got to keep an eye on them. So this wheelbarrow will carry 3 buckets. Here's my storage. Here's my seed. I wanted to tell you about seed potatoes. You get the ones, you order them, and then they give you these big honking potatoes, and you got to cut them up and all of that. I didn't cut anything this year. I didn't chit them at all. All I did was plant them whole. So part of my strategy now is just to have whole seed potatoes. I'm not going to cut them at all. I'm going to put them in the ground intact. And you do want smaller potatoes to get bigger potatoes. If you put big potatoes, you're going to get a bunch of smaller ones generally. You put a little one and it's going to help you produce bigger potatoes, from what I've seen. And I didn't do any hilling. I didn't do any of that kind of stuff. I didn't fertilize. I didn't do anything. I planted them, let them grow. I weeded them a couple times. We chopped the big stalky stuff out, fed it to the cows, or threw it on the ground. But we really didn't put much work into the potato patch. So that's what we're looking for, is storage, production of calories, ease of growing it with minimal inputs. All of that is why you should probably be growing potatoes. And in the storage, you can store them for months. You know, it gives you time. You have options. Now you're not going to store ones for months. I'm going to go ahead and put some damaged ones out there in a different spot, trying to harden them off. I just have so many. I have like 3 buckets, which is going to average 80 pounds of potatoes that are damaged. So those are my damaged ones. We're going to try to store those. So hopefully I didn't go too long on this. I was just sharing that. I'm going to go ahead and move these over to the storage area. I'll show you how I'm storing them. Okay, here I am. Storage potatoes. So what I like to do is dump them on the shelf. Now, I'll tell you about the shelf here. It is, whoops, sorry, 2x4 woven fence wire, 2x4 inch, and it's 4 foot. This is 4 foot, so I just put this over the shelves, as you can see, kind of like right here. So when you're putting the potatoes in on your shelf in a cool area that doesn't get light, cool dark area, can you see that? Yep. I just start stacking in the back first like this, put them in a line all the way to the back, and then you start the next row. And this is basically like a 46-inch shelf by 20 inches, so it's not quite 2 by 4 feet, not quite 8 square feet. And the way I figured it, it's about 45 pounds of potatoes per shelf. Just going off of the average bucket, and it takes like 1 2/3 buckets or whatever. So I kind of just set the next potato in that little hole of the one in front of it. So you kind of just put them in there as best you can. And those ones that are falling through like that, I don't mind that, because I'm going to call those seed potatoes. Unless I'll look at it, it just doesn't have the volume. It might be wide enough or long enough, but then it's too skinny on the other dimension, so there's not much potato there. So if it's falling through those holes, I'm just going to call it a seed potato. So this is a dark, cool spot put inside my cooler here. It's not running. My meat locker. This right here where my ice blocks go, but I'm not using it right now because I hired someone to do my cows for me, just to save all that labor. So anyway, you just stack them in here like this, and it's a single layer. They're getting plenty of airflow. They're not getting any light. Fairly temperature controlled. Don't think it'd even freeze in here in the winter, to be honest, if I kept the door shut. So that's how I'm solving this. So, and I have 1, 2, 3. This is my 4th shelf. So this is about 180 pounds of potatoes. For storage, and then another 60 up there, or whatever for seed potatoes. So anyway, I just want to show what I'm doing to store my potatoes. So this is it. Any questions or suggestions, feel free to get in touch with me.